Hey everyone and welcome back. So today we were diving into something a little different. A lot of you have been asking for ways to improve your English. And we found this really cool YouTube video that I think will help a lot. It's from a channel called English Podcast Zone.
Kind of meta, isn't it? Using a podcast to learn English from another podcast about learning English.
Yeah, exactly. Meta is my middle name.
Mhm.
But yeah, for this deep dive, I really wanted to focus on the practical stuff, We're not just looking at vocabulary here. We want to figure out how to sound more fluent, more confident, more like a native speaker. And that's what this video seems to be all about.
Yeah, they've got a really smart structure going on. They start with an authentic dialogue, which is great for picking up natural speech. Then they break down what they call language takeaways, and finally they have a fluency builder section to put it all into practice.
Okay, I'm hooked already. Let's hear a bit of that dialogue.
Sounds good.
All right, so this is from the English Podcast Zone video. Oh man, I felt that. Forgetting names is like my hidden talent, unfortunately. But that's why I'm really excited about these language takeaways. Let's start with in a bit of a hurry. What's the deal with this phrase?
Well, it's all about being subtle and polite. Instead of just blurting out, "I'm late," which can sound a bit rude, this phrase softens things a bit. You're letting people know you're short on time, but you're still being courteous. It's perfect for those times when you need to excuse yourself gracefully, like if you're running late for a meeting or you need to end a conversation a little early.
Yeah, like a get out of jail free card for those awkward moments. Okay, what about contact details? Is that just a fancy way of saying phone number?
It's a little more than that. Contact details includes all the ways someone can get in touch with you: email, phone number, maybe even social media, depending on the situation. It's about giving people options for staying connected.
So it's like giving them the power to choose how they connect with you. I like that.
Okay, now for slipped my mind. I think we've all been there, right? Oh yeah, definitely slipped my mind is a really idiomatic way to say you forgot something. It's like a softer way to admit you had a little memory lapse. Instead of just saying, "I forgot," which can sound a bit harsh, slipped my mind adds a touch of humor and makes it less of a big deal.
It's a great way to make light of the situation. We're all human. We all forget things sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, this fluency builder section, this is where things get really interesting for me. What's the secret weapon they're giving us here?
Well, this section focuses on those expressions that can instantly make your English sound more natural, more like a native speaker. For example, they talk about using "how's it going" instead of the more formal "how are you." It's a small change, but it makes a big difference in how you come across.
Yeah, how's it going? Just sounds so much more casual and friendly. Well, how are you? Can sound a bit stiff in certain situations.
Exactly. And what's really effective is how they use personal stories to make these expressions stick. They tell a story about forgetting a family member's name, which is something we can all relate to. It's not just about memorizing phrases, it's about connecting them to real-life experiences. That's what helps us remember them.
Oh, I love that. The story about forgetting a family member's name. It's so funny because it's true. It reminds me of this one time.
Yeah, totally. It's those kinds of stories that make language learning so much more fun. So in the video, they use that story to explain, "How's it going?" Did they do something similar for any of the other phrases in the fluency builder section? Yeah, actually, one that comes to mind is their explanation of "around here." It's a really simple phrase, but native speakers use it all the time. And the video shows how you can use it in so many different ways, like asking for directions, describing where you are, even just making a conversation sound more natural.
I never really thought about how often we use around here, but now that you mention it, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Right. And what's really cool is how the meaning can change slightly depending on how you use it. For example, "around the corner" means something is very close by, while "around there" is more general. It refers to a larger area.
So it's all about those little nuances.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, moving on to another gem from the Fluency Builder section. Terrible with, I think we all have a few things we're terrible with.
For sure. And I think what's great about this phrase is that it's a really funny way to make light of a situation. Instead of trying to hide your weaknesses, you're just admitting them in a playful way.
It's like saying, hey, I'm not perfect and that's okay.
Exactly. It takes the pressure off, and it can even help you connect with people because everyone has things they're terrible with.
It's like a universal language of being human.
Okay.
So we've covered around here and terrible with. Any other highlights from the Fluency Builder section that we should mention?
Let's see. Oh, yeah. They also talk about the word acquaintance, which can be a little tricky. It's not quite a friend, but it's more than just a stranger.
It's like that gray area in between.
Yeah.
Arc.
Right. It's a good word to know for those people you see around sometimes but don't really know that well. Oh, and they also talk about the word forgetful, which is a really useful way to describe someone who forgets things a lot.
Uh-huh. I think that describes most of us these days.
Yeah.
But hey, that's why we're learning, right?
Yeah.
To expand our vocabulary and all that.
Definitely. And remember, fluency isn't just about knowing a bunch of words. It's about using those words naturally and confidently. It's about being able to express yourself clearly and connect with other people.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about being able to communicate. Yeah, I like that. And I think this English Podcast Zone video does a really good job of showing how to do that.
I agree. It's really informative and engaging, and it makes language learning feel more like an adventure than a chore.
This deep dive has me thinking
Yeah.
about how we can actually use all this stuff, you know? Like sometimes language learning can feel kind of overwhelming. But what if we just focused on using it in our everyday lives? Like those small moments where we can practice without even thinking about it.
That's a great point. It's about making English a part of your life, not just something you study from a textbook.
Yeah.
Like, next time you're at a cafe, try ordering your coffee in English, even if you're not in an English-speaking country.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's like a little mini immersion experience
Right.
in your own neighborhood.
Exactly. And there are so many resources out there that can help you practice for specific situations. Like English Podcast Zone probably has an episode on ordering food or asking for directions.
It's like having a language tutor on demand. Okay, but what about making mistakes? Like, I feel like that's something that holds a lot of people back.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But you know what? Mistakes are totally normal. In fact, they're actually really important for learning, so don't be afraid to mess up. It's all part of the process.
I like that. So to wrap things up for our listeners who are learning English, here's what we want you to remember. Don't stress about being perfect. Just focus on using English in your everyday life. Find resources that you enjoy, like English Podcast Zone. And remember that mistakes are okay. They're actually good for you.
And most importantly, have fun with it. Language is about so much more than just grammar and vocabulary. It's about connecting with people, sharing experiences, and discovering new cultures.
So here's a little challenge for you. What are some other ways you can use English in your daily life? Get creative and have fun with it.
See you next time.
Happy learning, everyone.